Diddy is on day one of being indicted, and I'm almost certain that he's lost all faith in his attorney.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs now facing several serious federal charges.
Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
The 3-count indictment comes after numerous lawsuits accusing Diddy of sexual assault and battery, and months after the surveillance video from 2016 was released of him beating his former girlfriend Cassie in a Los Angeles hotel.
They're gonna force Diddy to pull the curtain back on not only himself. Number one, Cassie's going under the bus, and I say that respectfully. I don't know Cassie. I'm doing my job. Cassie, you're going under the bus. Oh man, you finna hear some things about Cassie she may not never wanted nobody to hear. Dude she married to gonna find some things out about her while this trial is going on that may be uncomfortable for a man who didn't know this information. So he gonna ask her some shit that only her and Diddy know. You like for him to shit on your chest. Has Mr. Combs ever it in your mouth? You know why she on the stand. Did you like for your mouth to be shat in?
Misdemeanor assault. But the gravamen of the complaint was sex crimes, and he denied that, and he still does.
Well, and you're saying that this is all just about that one relationship, but when you read through the indictment, they say that there's not just one victim. They say there's multiple victims here today, and what I heard described was they said they have 50 witnesses or victims.
Yeah, I think it's 49 witnesses and one victim. I think if you broke it down, and I say that because count 2, which is the sex trafficking count, has victim number 1, and there is no victim number 2 anywhere in the indictment.
What Diddy may have lost a little faith in his legal team is because I'm sure his legal team told him, listen, couple of different things. Number one, wherever they raided in this case, in the event you take a deal, they're gonna want to seize those properties. That's one. So anywhere that they went in and found something, or they said you did freak offs on, they're gonna try to seize that. So what did Diddy do? He started to sell it.
Now niggas wanna loon me to death. Salute, Loon.
Yeah,
Salute.
exactly.
It's my man, Loon.
That's my man too.
Both Loons. Old Loon, new Loon, both Loons.
Okay.
Yeah,
All ops must know it's up there and it's stuck there, nigga.
When it's up there, man, it's stuck there.
Shut up.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the fantasy sports platform that's changing the game for people like us. With Prize Picks, you can test your knowledge with picking over and under for your favorite player stats across a wide variety of sports. Think football, baseball, basketball, and beyond. So why wait? Jump into Prize Picks right now and bring more excitement to game day. Whether you're cheering from the stands or the couch, Prize Picks adds that extra layer of fun for sports excitement. Again, my slogan, why would you put something on the game when you could put something on the name? Let's get into those picks and start winning with Prize Picks today. IUTP code. Let's get back to the show. Welcome back to It's Up There podcast. I am your active and attractive host, Big Loon. Uno not dos, you must never seen the game up close. Come to patreon.com for all the vibes. I hope to see some of you guys' faces, some of you beautiful women in our It's Up There podcast second annual live event featuring Dr. Umar Johnson. The first one tallied in 11 million views. Congratulations to us as a family, as a community. Thank you so much for everyone that liked, shared, commented. A lot of y'all got mad about how my interaction with the crowd was, you know. But I do want to say, y'all, bear with me. You know what I'm saying? That was my first live event, first live show ever doing this. Like, think about that. Packed house, 11 million views, first time out, planning it by yourself, logistics by yourself, production by yourself, you know. You know what I'm saying? Show some respect. And shout out to the 2 Chainz company that came down and shot that for me, did a tremendous job. I'll definitely be looking forward to partnering with someone top of the year as we're taking that show on the road as well. But that's housekeeping. Come to patreon.com. It's Up There Podcast. Follow me on all socials at It's Up There Podcast for our podcast page, FOGFO_Looney on Instagram for my personal social, and Big Loon _ on Twitter. I just started my Twitter. If you come to Patreon, I invite you to the Xbox community. I also have PS5. We all are a community in there playing the games. Of course, you know NBA 2K just came out. We got some people on that, people on college, people on Madden, and so we wager in there. And so if you ain't got no money, we got a separate party for the people with no money. Because the party with the money, we talk loud and we talk strong, but we all get money and we all get along. So hopefully, the doors of the trap is open, and hopefully I see you guys there. Top of the year, we got a lot of plans I'm gonna roll out. Man, I'm talking about, I got so much top of the year. Y'all gonna be excited. I'm hoping to light the way for the next generation. I've talked about that for the last 12 to 16 months, and starting 2025, we put that in motion in a real way. And it's gonna be different than everyone else. But today, man, we got a lot to talk about. It's Up There Podcast has been the cornerstone of culture for a very specific set of people. The leadership class has been tapped in with me. Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to speak about Sean P. Diddy Combs. He has now been arrested on a flurry of charges, including sex trafficking, racketeering, among other things. I want us to take a look at a video that sums up Sean P. Diddy Combs' arrest and what's going on, and we'll come back with some commentary. Roll the tape.
My name is Damian Williams, and I'm the U.S. Attorney here in the Southern District of New York. Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs' crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced.
There's a whole lot to take in with that. Number one, the federal government has a 14-page indictment as it pertains to this case against Diddy. If I would have let him continue, but I'm sure most of you already have saw that video, reason why I cut it short, because I think the commentary is more important. We do a little context setting for people who may need a refresher as to what we're speaking about and what the approach may be to the conversation. And so we try to start there. But there's a lot to unpack with this. We got to deal with bond denial. We have to deal with the moves that Diddy has been making. We're dealing with the reason why they made the arrest at this time, on that particular day, what the lawyer has been doing, quote unquote, being proactive. And there's a lot of things, but I take no pleasure in seeing one of the 4 or 5 black men that we have come out of hip hop being drugged down to his knees. I don't want to speak to the particulars of the indictment just yet. We're going to let the evidence roll out. I do know that, we all saw a video in which Diddy had some disgusting behavior. We're going to get into some of the contradictions that the lawyer is placing forward that, if I can see this on this level, I think you may want to watch that going in court against the federal government, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But I take no pleasure in these black men falling. I was telling someone, when you're someone like Diddy, this isn't just like a CEO of, let's say, Sprite or Apple or someone that's a part of a well-oiled machine that machine is going to continue to roll no matter what, even if they're there or not. Diddy's position in the culture is not of that ilk. Is not of that texture. And I say that not to have any disrespect to Diddy, more so to highlight that our culture doesn't really have any criteria or anything that keeps you in those positions outside of productivity. And there's only but so much productivity you can do in a year. So what am I getting to? It takes time. And so when you pluck a Diddy out of the scenario, you pluck a Jay-Z, you pluck some of these guys out of the scenario, you plucking 25 years worth of relationships in the music business. People that he may have hired in the 90s, early 90s, now running this label over here because they all been in the business 20 years. And so it's phone calls that he can make to make things move and shake as it pertains to business. We ain't even talking about freak offs and all that. I'm just saying, as a black man in business, there is a deficit as it pertains to the place that Diddy sat in. It takes years to carefully craft up your way through this crash course. It takes so much time. It ain't about talent, because you can be like, yo, I can write, man, we can get some more hits. Yeah, but what about the things that Biggie did in 94, 95, 90? You dig? The things that Biggie did in the 90s that legacy takes time to boil over for you to recognize it and appreciate it. It has to live though that time. So we lose that side. And so I say that our culture takes a hit as it pertains to powerful black men being in entertainment. And we look around and we don't see many of us even in those power positions. Diddy was one of those guys. Now, some can argue that have trouble being paid and the business side of things was not the greatest. You can argue that. But in this arrest, you hear them say we have found several things. They found firearms, but they didn't charge him with a gun. They mentioned that they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil. That's not a crime either. Now, I do think it speaks to the freak off, and this gets slippery, right? Because a long time in the industry, I heard people say, "Yo, Diddy mess with the men." You know, talk when they telling you this, they ain't moving their mouth. You see, so it's been whispers around the industry, and then some people have also been front facing with it, like, man, he buy, man, ain't nothing wrong with that, he buy. And I've always been in the back of my mind just being like, yo, man, that internet shit crazy, boy. Boy, that internet shit crazy, boy. Them folk be saying anything. Then them little videos will pop up. You be like, oh, man, this thing kind of seem like that. Man, what was that? But now, Diddy got to come on out and expose everything. Oh, yeah, y'all ain't saw the play. See, I'm giving y'all the game. This is one-on-one. I'm giving y'all the game and hope ain't nobody listening. But Diddy finna expose Cassie. Oh, yeah, you try to take me down? Oh, nah, they finna, whatever secrets he got on Cassie finna come out and play out in front of the world. It's finna play out in front of the world. Now, here's a couple interesting things about Diddy and how they arrested him. If you noticed over the last couple of weeks, you saw Diddy just pop up in New York and people was like, yo, Diddy's in the streets of New York walking around. Academics said something, and this made me look at it different. Academics said that Diddy is out there and he just kind of looking like, it ain't like he used to be, you know, talking back and forth. Love, how you doing? That, you know, he's not engaged with the people. He damn near is the black Joe Biden. Before they locked it up, he was walking around like the black Joe Biden. Just. That's what he was doing. He was not engaged. But him moving back to New York didn't strike anyone as odd. We know Diddy don't want to stay in New York. He could have been stayed in New York. He want to stay in Miami. He know he can't stay in L.A. because Shorty is in L.A. Don't stay out there. It's a little too iffy. Stay in Miami away from everybody in the big mansion. That's where he want to stay. But he came to New York. Didn't even stay in the house. I thought imagine he would have had a house or a penthouse or something there, but he was staying at a hotel. And so when he pop up in New York and he linked with G-Dep and linked with some of those Harlem legends, it felt like he was saying his goodbyes, like, bro, any day now, bro. Yeah, my lawyer said them broke ass nigga, they coming. Yeah, they coming. Yeah, my lawyer said they on the way. And that's what kind of it felt like. His lawyer has been in constant communication, at least, but here's what you find out when you do the research. His lawyer has been in one-way communication with the federal government. They ain't been giving him no juice. Nah, they ain't giving him no play. He hitting them, they ain't respond. They leaving him on red. Yeah, we ain't playing this little game. We know what you're trying to set up. We know what you're trying to do. But he got all his ducks in a row. He trying to cover his ground. So he been trying to negotiate with him. They ain't playing the game. When Cassie decided to file a lawsuit on Diddy in November of 2023, Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former girlfriend, filed a lawsuit accusing him of abuse, manipulation, and violence during the relationship. The case was settled in a day. It went on fire. It caused firestorms. He paid her $30 million. So that's one loss. I already lost 30 M's to it. That's why he should have paid her the 10 up front. See, this all goes back to he should have paid that 10 up front, kept her quiet. Because her offer at first was 10 and 10 and a grin and let me spin. You know what I mean? He didn't want to get a 10. 10 turned into 30, and now all this other shit, losing all your companies, losing the ego. The 10 turned into 30. The ego, man. Pride come before the fall. But she did that in November. They raided his house in March. It's about 4 months for them to get an indictment to raid a billionaire's house. So I knew then, when the feds do that to a billionaire, they not playing, he will be arrested. The collateral damage of paying her triggers other lawsuits from other individuals who were involved. 2 more ladies filed a lawsuit before. See, if you remember, New York had a law that was about to expire. And so if you didn't take advantage of it before a certain date, then you can no longer prosecute or hold the person that you accuse and liable for whatever damages. And so 2 more lawsuits came out after that. I knew he was going to be arrested. But it's about to get interesting because they showed up to a hotel that he was staying in and arrested him while the whole time his lawyer was trying to figure out a way for him to surrender, because the lawyer understands what surrendering looks like in the eyes of the court. They weren't interested in that. Diddy then went up for bond. Let's take a look at one of the news reports about what happened with his bond. Let's roll it.
And off the top at 5:30, breaking developments in the federal case against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. After pleading not guilty following his arrest in New York, a judge rules no bond. Diddy is charged with racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. Good evening. I'm Jim Barry.
And I'm Lauren Pastrana. Naja is on assignment. Many details are stunning and maybe disturbing for some viewers to hear. CBS News Miami's Anna McAllister is live in Miami Beach with more on this explosive case. Anna?
Lauren, Jim, Diddy won't be here at his Star Island home or any of his properties for quite some time. According to investigators, they found a wealth of evidence here in Miami and in his LA homes back during those raids in March. And according to prosecutors, they say that Diddy coerced his victims to fulfill his sexual desires and to protect his reputation. Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs now facing several serious federal charges.
Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
The 3-count indictment comes after numerous lawsuits accusing Diddy of sexual assault and battery, and months after the surveillance video from 2016 was released of him beating his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a Los Angeles hotel. In March, federal agents raided both Diddy's Miami and Los Angeles homes, and prosecutors say they found evidence of freak-off sex parties where victims were allegedly forced to participate.
They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large-capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims.
The indictment goes on to state that investigators seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Diddy's lawyers say he is innocent and argue that he should be released on bail ahead of trial. Right now, Diddy is the only defendant listed in the indictment.
I would not be surprised that if this case is ultimately resolved through a negotiated plea, while he's charged in a conspiracy, it's interesting that there are no co-conspirators that were named in this indictment, which leads me to believe that there are a lot of cooperating witnesses.
If the case goes to trial and Diddy is found guilty, he could spend a minimum of 15 years to a maximum sentence of life in prison.
A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York.
And Diddy's lawyers say that their client is innocent, and again, he is being held without bond. But for now, reporting live from Star Island in Miami Beach, Anna McAllister, CBS News, Miami.
Time is 4:35. Sean Diddy Combs is due in court this afternoon for bail hearing. The judge denied bail yesterday after he pleaded not guilty to federal racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Combs' attorney offered a $50 million bail, but the judge said Combs is a danger to witnesses and alleged victims. Combs is accused of leading a criminal enterprise that subjected women to sexual abuse, violence, and coercion. His attorney calls the charges nonsensical
And this whole notion that Mr. Combs is forcing drugs on someone is just nonsensical. There's not the slightest inkling, according to the interviews that I've done, of anything that's coercive, non-consensual. Nobody was too drunk. Nobody was too high.
Prosecutors say Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated sex parties with male prostitutes called freak-offs. He's facing 20 years on each of the 3 counts he's charged with.
So Diddy's legal defense team put up a $50 million bond package that was denied, and that was the initial bond appearance. Of course, there was an appeal put in place that just took place. Literally, we're off of breaking news. So Diddy's legal defense team put up a $50 million bail package that was denied on the initial bond appearance. That was the first one. Of course, an appeal was in place, and we're fresh off of breaking news from that appeal that the judge also denied the appeal of the bond for Sean Diddy Combs, as they added to the already $50 million bond package 24-hour security, no visits from any females outside of family, amongst other things that was also denied. The judge seemed to take favor with thinking that Diddy would be obstructing, as he had been contacting witnesses after he knew he was being investigated. It looks like 2 things are coming back to hunt Diddy. One, the video I told you guys about, he should have never under any circumstances responded to that video. He let his emotions put him in a trick bag. If he did not respond to that video, his lawyer now would still have a case to try to say, we still need to figure out the validity of that video, Yana. We don't know where that came from, how, what, who that is, what room was it, what day was it. There's a lot to look at as it pertains to that video, and it probably isn't the time to do that now. But his admitting that he was quote unquote wrong in that video is costing him right now. And it's so bad because you would think the accountability and responsibility would have some reward, and it does. But that reward is internal. And at some point, when you're playing, especially a game with the system, keeping your mouth closed is always paramount. So he's dealing with that video, number one. Also, number two, you're dealing with the obstruction of justice element that continues to get his bond denied. What the government is alleging Diddy has done in the last paperwork that they filed is 54 text messages and or calls to a witness, someone that has been subpoenaed. His lawyer argues that no, that's not what happened. She received a subpoena, reached out to him, and that's how that communication happened. Again, the gray area is what a lawyer can dance at. With that video that was released, it triggered something in him and made him put himself in a trick bag. And I know when he came out and apologized, the government was saying, thank you, God. That was the part that we need. Diddy made a couple of mistakes while this investigation was going on. It's almost like he couldn't understand that the wolves were at the gate. And boy, when the wolves at the gate, you don't come outside eating no food and enticing the wolves. You try to starve them out, stall them out. You don't come out there playing with the wolves. But they're gonna force Diddy to pull the curtain back on not only himself. Number one, Cassie's going under the bus. And I say that respectfully. I don't know Cassie. I'm doing my job. Cassie, you're going under the bus. Oh, man, you finna hear some things about Cassie she may not never wanted nobody to hear. If he going down, the least he can do is he gonna take her credibility with it. The dude she married to gonna find some things out about her while this trial is going on that may be uncomfortable for a man who didn't know this information. We're gonna watch this play out. I think he has no way to make his defense without dismantling the whole thing that he's built. The entire freak off thing, he got to dismantle to defend himself. He got to say, well, no, Cassie actually was the one that what she really likes to do, Yana, in bed. She really wanted 6 dudes. If I'm just being honest, Yana. Now let's get down to it, because they think she really wanted 6 men in there, Yana. She wanted, he gonna go on down through there. They got Diddy in jail. Just picture what that's like. Number one, Diddy been on drugs a long time. I always tell y'all this because it's something that I know about. Getting off drugs when you go to jail, it's going to be a hard 30, 60 days, boy. Especially for Diddy. He been doing drugs a long time whenever they caught him with drugs in New York up at the spot. Like you dig? So the detox going to be so rough on him. That's one thing. Also, like I spoke to months and months and months ago, the lifestyle change that's required to survive in jail, the drastic fall he has to take as it pertains to comfortability, quality of living, right? It's just going to be a drastic change. And it's going to be so fast. The disappointing news is that Diddy is on day one of being indicted. And I'm almost certain that he's lost all faith in his attorney. Now, he's not saying that out loud. I don't know how much money is tied up, but I know if I'm Diddy in jail right now, I don't have no faith in what you told me. For the last 6 months, see, I could have ran. Like, I had the kind of money I could have ran to another spot and built it up and flew people over when I wanted to see folks and dealt with women over there and just go down in history as the guy that left and never came back, made a bunch of money in hip hop and just dipped and never came back. But boy, you told me. There's a few things you told me to do. I did those things and they didn't play out right. I want to take a look at this video. We're going to look at two videos here. Number one, we're going to look at this video right after the appeal for bond was denied. Again, we're fresh off breaking news. They just denied the appeal of Sean P. Diddy Combs. They placed a $50 million bond package up with 24-hour security, home confinement, no visitors, spot test, and different elements to it that the judge said was insufficient because Diddy has been obstructing of justice, and the video where he was violent to Cassie in that hotel that we all saw. Let's listen to what his lawyer says as he's faced 2 defeats in 2 days while he represents a $1 billion client that he could not get bail. Let's pay attention.
I want to feel about it. Here it comes. Lawyer.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm not really going to take any questions, but at this point we are moving forward. We're preparing for trial as we speak, and we are considering our next steps and appealing the court's ruling. All right. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
What you just listened to was Sean P. Diddy Combs' legal team on the court steps following the denial of P. Diddy's bond appeal. He had a $50 million package. As you heard what he said, he's going to fight tooth and nail, try to get this trial happening as quick as possible. I imagine the government to want Diddy to suffer. And how do they do that? They take their sweet time with all these cell phone downloads, video downloads. And again, we don't know what's on this thing. We don't know what's on this thing. I do think that the government is going to try a trick. That trick is going to be embarrassment. Not with Diddy. He's already embarrassed. He's already in the can. He's already kind of on the menu. I think they're going to embarrass other people. And so some of the other celebrities that may be on some of these tapes, some of these videos, some of these pictures, I think we're going to see some of the same behavior. As we saw the Cassie tape make its way to the public, in hopes to trigger a reaction, I think we see the same behavior with some of these quote unquote downloadable devices that the government has in their hands at this time. Because let's just say, for shits and giggles, that a video comes out with a female rapper, and let's say she's in a compromising situation, Let's say Diddy's there, maybe another guy's there, or maybe a girl's there, or maybe there's just a scenario where there's video or pictures that leak of another high-profile celebrity. That's going to place them in a situation to defend themselves in a way where they are taking some of the shame off. Because when those lights are low and those drugs are going and everybody feeling good and the liquor is flowing and there's a vibe, it's a different feeling than everybody looking at that snot coming down your mouth, your nose. You know what I mean? You got your tears coming down your eyes and fucking up your makeup and shit, handling your business like a true savage. You don't really want everybody seeing that, you know. That's really just for Big Daddy to see. So, again, I think they're going to try something like that. His lawyer seems to be ready, willing to fight this case. It seems like Diddy is steadfast on, look, I'm going to fight this and I'm going to embarrass Cassie on my way. I want to now take a look at a video where Diddy's lawyer went on CNN, and I think this is where we're going to have the crux of our conversation today. Diddy's legal defense, which as of now, I only see one lawyer being the forefront, and there's no way one lawyer is going to take on the federal government of the Southern District of New York. I mean, he's going to have a team. I'm sure he has a team. Maybe he's just the face of it. But I'm looking at one lawyer. He goes on CNN, and he has what I say to be a well-informed conversation with a journalist, and we're going to speak about it. Let's take a look at that.
What prosecutors are arguing is not only does your client pose a flight risk, because obviously he's incredibly wealthy, has access to planes and a lot of staff, even though you said he turned over his passport to you months ago, they were also worried about him being able to interfere with witnesses and calling them. And so I guess the question is, how do you assure the court that that won't happen if prosecutors are saying this is someone who's attempted to bribe security staff and has already threatened and interfered with witnesses?
So I think that the most important thing, even more important than the passport, is that Mr. Combs came to New York on September 5th. As soon as we realized that this indictment was going to be coming down in a matter of weeks, maybe months, but sometime soon, Mr. Combs got on a plane, left his home in Florida, flew to New York. I called the prosecutors myself. I said, Mr. Combs is in New York. Do you want to know where he is? If you want to know where he is, I'll tell you where he is. But he wants to surrender. He's here to surrender. They didn't want him to surrender, because if he surrenders, they don't get to tell the judge that he's a flight risk and he's a danger. Because who, as a danger and a flight risk, would fly to New York and surrender? So they didn't want him to surrender.
So since September 5th, you had known, you expected it was likely he was going to formally face charges.
So I really knew he was formally going to face charges on March 25th, the day of the searches, when Homeland Security searched his Los Angeles home, his Miami home, and his airplane. I knew that day by looking at the search warrants. I mean, I've been doing this for a while. This is not my first or 100th rodeo, that this was going to come as a matter of time. What I realized in early September is that it was coming soon. And so it was time for Mr. Combs to come to New York, which he did. Let me just point out one very important thing. The prosecutors are seizing on something that happened 8 years ago. You know, this video that we've all seen, and it's a bad video for Mr. Combs, and he said so himself when he gave his apology. This is 8 years ago, and the prosecutors are talking about him bribing a hotel security worker. There was no criminal investigation. This was just a matter of personal embarrassment, because he and the person in the video were in the midst of a 10-year relationship, first or 100th rodeo. That this was going to come as a matter of time. What I realized in early September is that it was coming soon. And so it was time for Mr. Combs to come to New York, which he did.
I think he said something interesting there. He said they didn't want him to surrender. So then my mind started to wonder, why wouldn't they want Diddy to surrender? Usually a criminal, he's a billionaire, highly resourceful. He can make this hard for you guys. He's trying to cooperate, participate as it pertains to turning himself in. Try not to make this a spectacle. This tells me a couple of things, but we're going to sit here for a minute and deal with some of them. It's crazy because Diddy's wealth, which was once his greatest shield, is now becoming a target. So I agree with the lawyer. They didn't entertain that because they didn't want it to appear in court that he was cooperating and cooperative. But two, my mind wondered and said, yo, they want the assets. And so this goes back to my point in what Diddy may have lost a little faith in his legal team, is because I'm sure his legal team told him, listen, couple of different things. Number one, wherever they raided in this case, in the event you take a deal, they're going to want to seize those properties. That's one. So anywhere that they went in and found something, or they said you did freak offs on, they're going to try to seize that. So what did Diddy do? He started to sell it. So before you seize it, I'ma sell it. Now, selling it makes the government say what? We need to hurry up. Because if these things are sold, we have no way to track that money down or see exactly where that money went to. And it's a different process to try to seize that money versus just taking over these properties and that jet. So if you noticed over the last couple of months, Diddy list that property on the West Coast that they raided. I think he listed it for upwards of $50 million. Quiet as kept, he had also listed his jet. Now, while doing so, his lawyer is in constant communication, one-way communication with the government. And he's kind of updating them on what's going on. Hey, Mr. Combs has received a letter of intent to buy his jet. We've had 3 buyers. They didn't pan out. You know, all of these different plans to get rid of the jet. And while he thinks that's building trust with the government, I believe, this is me, and I'm no legal expert or lawyer, but I believe that just made the government press the gas, knowing that if he gets rid of all the properties and take a deal, we have nothing to seize. If he gets rid of that jet and the properties, he's just sitting there with a guilty plea. He gets out, he's still almost a billionaire. And so if y'all out there and y'all doing anything outside of the confines of the law to try to survive or calling yourself outside in the streets, you better ask your homeboy how he got a federal bond. We'll get to that later because we got Diddy in there. He's $1 billion guy and they won't budge. We got to figure out what the criteria is. Like, you got to ask your homeboy how he get that bond. But bonds are hard to get in the federal system because usually when they come and get you or they knock on your door, the wolves are at the gate and they're closing in. Let's look at it a little more.
It was time for Mr. Combs to come to New York, which he did. And let me just point out one very important thing. The prosecutors are seizing on something that happened 8 years ago. You know, this video that we've all seen, and it's a bad video for Mr. Combs, and he said so himself when he gave his apology. This is 8 years ago, and the prosecutors are talking about him bribing a hotel security worker. There was no criminal investigation. This was just a matter of personal embarrassment because he and the person in the video were in the midst of a 10-year relationship. That was difficult at times, that was toxic at times, but it was mutually so. And this whole notion that Mr. Combs is forcing drugs on someone is just nonsensical, and it's going to prove to not be true.
Well, in that video, he initially denied the allegations when his then girlfriend, who was in that video, filed a lawsuit last fall. And we have that video. I should note, CNN was the first outlet to exclusively report on it. He denied that happened when she filed it in a complaint. And then when the video came out is when he apologized for it.
So I wasn't his lawyer back then, so I don't think he denied. I mean, I think the lawyers were the ones mostly making the denials. I think they were denying sex crimes. I mean, because at the end of the day, the gravamen of that civil complaint wasn't a misdemeanor assault, which is what you see on that video. Not minimizing it, but it's a misdemeanor assault. What the gravamen of the complaint was sex crimes, and he denied that, and he still does.
Well, and you're saying that this is all just about that one relationship, but when you read through the indictment, they say that there's not just one victim. They say there's multiple victims here today, and what I heard described was they said they have 50 witnesses or victims.
Yeah, I think it's 49 witnesses and 1 victim. I think if you broke it down, and I say that because count 2, which is the sex trafficking count, has victim number 1, and there is no victim number 2 anywhere in the indictment.
So you're saying that there are not other women, because what they were essentially arguing here is that he coerced and forced women into sex acts by using physical force, financial pressure, emotional abuse, and narcotics for what they described as these freak-off sessions. They saying that he self-described them as that.
Yeah, there's 1 victim in the indictment. That the charging document.
1 victim does count, right?
No, of course, but I'm just saying it's not 50. I mean, what they did is a little too cute. It's 50 witnesses or victims. Well, it's 1 victim. That's all that's in the indictment.
Our reporter who was in the courtroom today said that he appeared to have a stunned expression on his face. Was he surprised that he was arrested last night?
No, he definitely was not. I mean, I told him myself in early September, you are going to be arrested soon, and you're going to be charged with racketeering, and you're going to be charged with sex trafficking. So come to New York. It wasn't a long conversation. He agreed. So we knew this was coming. And in fact, we offered that he would turn himself in.
So if there are these witnesses and victims, and as you're saying that you believe it's one victim and 49 witnesses who saw this behavior, that's pretty powerful, though, to have that many people who have, if they go to court and argue that they witnessed this behavior by your client.
Well, no.
What's your defense against that kind of thing?
So my defense is very well established. I interviewed myself the different men who, were being brought sort of into Mr. Combs and this person's, intimate situation. I've flown around the country. I've interviewed a large number of them. There's not the slightest inkling, according to the interviews that I've done, of anything that's coercive, non-consensual. Nobody was too drunk. Nobody was too high. These were adults in a relationship. This is a 10-year relationship. We can't forget that. This is a 10-year relationship, and it was adults and consensual, and everybody who was there wanted to be there. So I feel very confident in our position.
You said you interviewed the men, but what about the women?
I haven't interviewed the woman. The woman's not available to me. She's presumably a grand jury witness, and we would not, we cannot try to interview a grand jury witness.
And you don't think that there are any other women who are going to say that they were coerced into this, given drugs, and essentially as prosecutors were saying that that's what kept them compliant?
So there are a lot of women in these civil cases. There's been a mountain of civil cases ever since the civil case that was filed in November. I don't see them as victims in the indictment. That's my point.
And so when you talk about that video of Cassie Ventura, that was his then girlfriend, in the video, I mean, just when you saw that, you said it's a bad video. It's pretty difficult to watch.
It is, no question. So let me tell you what happened.
Will that be used as evidence in court, do you think?
100%, 100%. So what I said in court today, and I'll say it again here, is the two of them were in a hotel. It was just the two of them in a hotel room. She found out that he was seeing someone else. She was going through his phone. She hit him in the head with his own phone. And then she walks into the hallway with two bags. One of the bags has all of his clothing taken from him, which is why he runs out in a towel. So this isn't her fleeing from one of these freak-offs. Why would she take his clothing? That's not what it is. And when the evidence comes out, this is going to be completely different than the government's portrayed it.
But on this video,
here's where I want to have the conversation. I think we have some opportunity to speak to Diddy's legal team. My question would be, number one, these narratives, you got to be careful how some of these stories cross over, right? So when he's speaking to the video, you hear Diddy's attorney say, well, you're dealing with two people who were in a 10-year relationship. And at that point, she was upset due to infidelity. They were very toxic. Some things happened. She ran out the room. And then the video you see with him doing the despicable things he did by striking her and pulling her and throwing a vase at her at that hotel lobby. A couple sentences after that, the lawyer said something that, in my opinion, kind of contradicts the last sentence. He said that she was upset about infidelity, which caused this toxic situation that resulted in a video that he tried to pay $50,000 for. Keep that in your mind. So she reacted in a way that caused her to fight him and be upset that he was dealing with another girl. The lawyer recognizes that on this end. And then on the other end, he says they were not even in a relationship. When the evidence comes out, you're going to see that she lived alone. She was always by herself. All right, cool. Set that to the side. He also said that both people were participating parties in these freak-offs where other men were involved, where how can the same woman who is upset about infidelity be okay with sharing sexual acts, right? It just doesn't seem like that behavior can be explained in the court in a way where a jury can understand. So you're saying the same lady that was quote-unquote upset, that you're saying she was upset, that caused her to react in a way that started violence and have him run out of a hotel. He can't say he was in the shower, he had socks on. You don't wear socks in the shower. That's the first thing I said. His body wasn't dripping wet. He's literally just naked, a towel and socks on. So he couldn't say, I heard her leaving when I was in the shower, ran out, chased her, she was stealing. He couldn't have said that. Now we know some niggas do get it in with them socks on. Nigga go to hitting it with them socks on y'all nigga ass. Still got them socks on, drilling that. Yeah. So he had his socks on. How on one end you can say she's upset with sharing, and that's the reason she was leaving and for the toxic situation that led to the video of him assaulting her. But then on the other end, she's a willing participant of sharing. Are you saying she shares sometimes when she wants? It's going to be hard for the jury to understand that. And the lawyer is treading on that line. But you see what he's about to do. He's about to say, hey, Cassie, you got to think, if Cassie is a witness and she gets on that stand, that lawyer is going to drill her. And once he catch her in the lie, you're done. So he going to ask her some shit that only her and Diddy know. You like for him to shit on your chest. Has Mr. Combs ever shitted in your mouth? You know, while she on the stand. And that's relevant. We talking freak offs. Did you like for your mouth to be shat in? You know, they're going to be up there doing it like that. And it's going to be unfortunate. But that's the games that the lawyers play in the courtroom. I am interested in if there is a superseding indictment that's going to come. Because if it's only one victim and it's only one person indicted on a racketeering charge, that's kind of unheard of. Because racketeering, and they're speaking of all this enterprise talk, what I truly believe them about to try to do is, before they announce a superseding indictment, they're going to try to now, because they have him in custody, reach out to the people who they're saying he's working with. Hey, this is your chance to tell us everything and work with us. He's done. And you're about to be indicted, and you'll be done as well. We're going to paint you as someone that did all of his dirty work. So if he can't get out, you definitely can't get out, because he don't really know how to hide stuff. You're the person that knows how to sneak in and sneak out and deliver drugs and this and that, and they're going to paint it that way in court. So I believe the reason why you only see one person in this RICO indictment on the Combs Enterprise, which is a real company, by the way, is because they're about to approach them now while he's in jail and give them an opportunity to flip. Let's look at a little more of this video.
So why would she take his clothing? That's not what it is. And when the evidence comes out, this is going to be completely different than the government's portrayed it.
But on this video, and I just want to show that again now, how do you defend against allegations that he hit, kicked, and dragged women when he's on video hitting, kicking, and dragging a woman?
Sure, he's not charged with hitting, kicking, and dragging a woman. He's charged with sex trafficking, and he didn't traffic anybody.
But he's charged with a conspiracy here where he was using physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial pressure, as prosecutors allege, to keep these women in his fold. Maybe just Cassie Ventura, but keeping these women in the fold.
Cassie Ventura lived by herself. She had her own house. She had a family. She had a career. And he was seeing another woman at the time. He wasn't around a lot. She could have done whatever she wanted to do. All of these allegations of, I was forced, I was coerced, I had to stay, are nonsense. And it's going to be proven to be so.
That video, in the indictment, it alleges that your client paid hotel staff $50,000 to make it disappear from the hotel surveillance system. Did he pay off the hotel staff?
Not that I know of. I know that's an allegation. I don't know that is true. What I was concerned about when I heard about this allegation is whether there was an allegation that there was some sort of law enforcement investigation pending, because then that would be a crime. But there was none. And so this is not a crime.
You said you're portraying this as adults who were at these events that wanted to be, I shouldn't even call them events, that's not certainly how anyone else would label it, but that they wanted to be there. But they also allege that they were recorded and essentially used as blackmail. Is that not true?
That's not true. That's not true.
How can you prove that when they have electronic evidence that, as they argue, over 90 cell phones, laptops, iCloud storage accounts, 30 electronic and storage devices, hard drives, thumb drives? You're not worried about that?
Nope, because if they had it, they would have put it in the indictment.
But it sound confident, I ain't gonna lie. But it sound like, and that's true, if they had it, they would have put it in the indictment, if you're asking me, unless they have a superseding indictment coming. I don't know. Couple things here, though, is I think the lawyer has to start getting prepared, if he's not already prepared, on how he's gonna have a jury understand. One end, you're saying she's upset and toxic because he's seeing another woman, and then on the other end, you're saying she enjoys for them to share, because a regular person isn't going to understand that, right? I think about my mother and people in her age bracket. When the Diddy stuff first popped off, the question they had was, Diddy seems possessive. How does it make sense that everyone is saying that if you mess with Cassie, he would be very upset, threaten you, almost want to fight you for looking at her, being around her, don't talk to her. He was very over possessive of Cassie on one end, but on the other end, he want dudes to come in and beat her brains in. I was talking to one of my little freak home girls, and she was telling me, now what happens is after the dude come beat the brains in front of you, you got to go gorilla and reclaim the poo nanny. I said, they going. I said, they going primal? Oh, they going animal kingdom like this right here? She said, man, listen, if somebody is in that lifestyle and then they allow somebody to come and have sex with their girl in front of them. They encourage them to give her the best sex that they can. And then their job is to reclaim the pool nanny and try to top that. And I'm like, oh, so they doing some kind of competition shit. I don't know. But I just think he's going to have a hard time explaining that to the jury. It also was presented to the public that they were originally going to arrest Diddy on a different date, and they decided to close in on September the 17th of 2024. The reason being was still all speculation. Come to find out, again, the one-way communication from Diddy's lawyer to the government, the Southern District of New York, was trying to let them know his whereabouts and keeping him away from the jet. Again, they're anticipating him being indicted. Once he's indicted, they're looking forward to say, Yana, look at the behavior we've presented. We think one of the things that they were doing to try to uphold that standard was keeping him away from his private jet, so he would just charter a jet. How you'll go and get a ticket to get on the flight on the airplane instead of using his own jet, he would just take a jet in that fashion. So the jet had been in LA for a long time. Diddy, according to his lawyer, September the 5th, came on up to New York anticipating him being indicted. While in New York, the people who he had controlling the jet and outsourcing and booking the jet for him, unbeknownst to Diddy, according to people surrounding him, had that jet land in New Jersey while he was in New York. What that said to investigators or the federal government is that he is now too close to his private jet. Maybe he's going to make a run for it. This is the speculation as to why they went ahead and made the arrest prior to the scheduled date. I want to say I do want to flirt with that and have a conversation about that, but I also still want to talk about offloading those assets. While offloading those assets, I think it triggered them to say, yo, let's get him now also before he dumps $200 million worth of stuff. Like, that's supposed to be our stuff. We coming to get some of that. Diddy's confidence in his legal team is wavering, if you're asking me, because I'm sure he had conversation with his lawyer that says, yo, this wouldn't happen. You're going to get a bond. Listen, give us your passport, all the checks. Let's check all of these boxes. This is going to get you a bond, man. These are the things you need to do. Stay away from the private jet. Turn yourself in, but they didn't allow it. Don't have any run-ins. Don't look upset. Don't respond anymore. Don't tweet anything. Just go low profile. Try to stay out of the way. And we should be able to get you a bond. I think they overestimated the government's willingness to negotiate because the government didn't budge at all. They denied them again. They did not budge. I also seen a couple of newspapers have some incorrect articles running about how maybe there were underage people involved. I didn't see those. If someone out there has those, present those to the public so we can have a look at them. I didn't see anything about anybody underage. The only thing that was going on in my mind, if anything, is like wondering if like one of the sons may have been dealing with girls that was 18, or at least telling them they're 18, maybe lying about their age, and what kind of lifestyle were they living. Let's just say, what if they were sharing girls? What if Diddy had sent a 34-year-old in there on his 22-year-old? That's still cool. But what if it swap around and the son try to send an 18-year-old in there to his 51-year-old daddy? Come to find out she ain't 21, she's 17. She just went and got lip fillers and all of that all young. She 19, she 18. You see what I'm saying? It can get slippery, man. I know one thing. All y'all little niggas with them penitentiary stories, go on, put them up. Put your penitentiary stories up. You know, all you niggas with them razzle-dazzle stories, and the nigga Diddy coming in there. He coming in there to lay down some of the stories. Yeah, he been living a billionaire lifestyle. I was with Barack Obama one time, right? You know how niggas don't got nothing to do in there. They go to talking and everybody has beens. They be living off what they did when they was out there, how they were balling. I'm going to get back to it. Boy, shut it down when Diddy hit the building. This is a nigga that been riding private the last 20 years. He having stories on top of stories, jailhouse, the jailhouse Netflix, man. But I don't think he gonna be able to survive in jail, man. It's gonna be rough on him in there. He ain't got the kind of, he been out here too long, balling for way too long to live in those conditions and just let it ride out. You know what I'm saying? Somebody gonna have to help me understand why they believe he gonna be able to hold that down. You better pay attention. The system's so crazy that if you don't got no money, they use that against you. But if you got too much money, they use that against you. So if you go up for a bond with no money, they gonna say, man, well, Your Honor, he's a criminal. He's going to a low poverty stricken environment. You know, we can't guarantee that he won't be right back involved. Look where he's going. You don't really have any transportation, so he's going to be stuck over there. We can't promise that he's going to be able to even make it to his classes. We want to keep him in like, they're going to argue that if you don't have the money, then on the other end, they're going to argue it if you have a bunch of money. Your Honor, we're not going to be able to let him out. We think he's a flight risk. He's just too powerful. He has way too much money. I mean, he has the kind of money where he can influence people to do things. Diddy done this to himself by reaching out to all these people, but he panicking. He see the wolves is at the gate. And if all else fails, the snake gonna have to eat his tail. He gonna have to start exposing shit he gonna have to start exposing how people wanted things and what they wanted. Their desires. That he was fulfilling desires. He wasn't chasing after nothing. He was fulfilling desires. So as of right now, Diddy has been arrested. He has been denied bond not once but twice, meaning he will be in jail until trial starts. His lawyer is fighting for a speedy trial and trying to get Diddy in a position to prove his innocence. According to his lawyer, Diddy is saying that Mrs. Ventura was not a victim. She was a volunteer. And I think that what we'll find out in this trial is from Diddy's perspective, some of the things that Cassie may have requested, some of the things that he may have called blackmail that Cassie has distributed his way, and some of the other findings that their relationship was not just as one-sided as people believe. I think that's Diddy's position. But as of right now, he'll be in jail. He'll be eating food with the inmates, and he will not be going home to his 50,000 square foot house that is almost like a hospital. And we will watch this unfold. But as of right now, that's where we stand. It's Up There Podcast. I appreciate y'all locked in with the boy. Let's get it.